What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the JTM episode 32, I believe. And I'm here with my good friend, Christian Barnes, who is actually an offensive lineman at the University of North Alabama. So in this episode, we're going to talk to Christian just about his story coming up through Jones Community College. We were talking for about an hour before this thing started just to catch up. Our dads are honestly probably, I would say, best friends. So we've we've been de facto cousins, even if it's not by blood. We're still family for sure. And it's been a while since we've talked, so it's great to talk to you, Christian. I gotta say, I gotta start off with the fact that you've actually met Javon Kinlaw, who was the most recent first-round pick for the San Francisco 49ers. I know we just kind of told this story, but since we're on the pod now, would you be down to talk about him a little bit and just really how great of a guy he is on top of an incredible player?
Got to get the clout for it. I can't lie and say that I've met him personally. I've met him in person.
Yeah.
But it's never been a one-on-one exchange.
Yeah.
But even still, it's like I was telling you, dude, when you see someone like that, it's awe-inspiring just seeing how just absolutely massive the dude is. I did get to shake his hand, and how do I put it? Do you remember ever being like a kid and you go to give your dad a handshake or something like that?
Yeah.
And their hand just like literally engulfs yours.
Yeah.
I had that, but it was as a grown man. So it was way more humbling of an experience.
Yeah. And for perspective for y'all, Christian is 6'4", 300 pounds. So that should just tells you how big Javon Kinlaw is.
Not a skinny person by any stretch of the imagination.
Oh my gosh. Well, speaking of that, I didn't mean to interrupt you if you weren't done with that, but you met him because you played at Jones Community College, right? In Mississippi.
That's right.
And there's been a lot of NFL players. You mentioned Jonathan Abrams, safety for the Oakland Raiders, also went to Jones Community College. And you have another friend who just signed a deal with the Houston Texans, as an undrafted free agent. So a lot of people have come out of Jones Community College, but Christian, can you just talk about how just your journey through Jones and how that got you to where you're at now?
It's not anything of an interesting story. And just to briefly touch on it, you're referring to Scotty Phillips, running back for Ole Miss. Again, didn't know him personally, but it was really interesting getting to see all of these guys that you can just see are phenomenal athletes, and you can just tell just how talented they are whenever you see them on the field. And then there's that cool factor of being like, oh, I know that dude. And seeing like them see a little post on Facebook or Twitter saying Scotty Phillips officially signed as an undrafted free agent by the Houston Texans. Javon Kinlaw, I think he was the 15th pick.
Yes, sir.
Number 15 overall to the San Francisco 49ers. It's crazy you're getting to see stuff like that. My story is not nearly as interesting as those guys.
Not yet.
Hopefully. We'll see in the next few years. But the way mine has gone so far is basically just it's kind of difficult to explain, but
gotcha.
Basically, I didn't get a lot of playing time in high school. I was behind two different tackles in high school. One was 6 foot, 330 pounds. The other was 6'4", 330 pounds.
In high school?
In high school.
Wow.
Keep in mind, I was 6'3", 265 soaking wet, which that's not small by any stretch of the imagination. But compared to them two, I was a young buck, and I had to wait my turn. And then finally, it came my senior season where I was the starting guy.
Mm-hmm.
I was one of the biggest guys on the team at that point. Tragedy strikes, and about 5 games in, we were playing a rivalry game against, some high school in our district, and I tore some ligaments in my left foot.
Oh my gosh.
Basically couldn't walk.
Wow.
for the next 2 to 3 months without some kind of a limp. It looked like I had a gun walk.
Mm-hmm.
Um, up to that point, I had started getting talked to by a few schools. Nothing crazy. A few junior colleges, and I think maybe a few Division II schools here and there. But all of that just completely vanished as soon as I injured my foot. Um, and one of my best friends, Thaddeus, he was actually the other starting tackle. Up to that point, he had basically locked down every junior college offered in the state of Mississippi.
Yeah.
So our senior season comes and goes. He picked up all these offers, and I didn't have one in my name. And I think I picked this up from my dad's side of the family, but we're all very stubborn people. No. And so even basically as soon as it happened, I came to grip with the fact that I'm not going to get a scholarship. I'm going to have to figure out another way to go about it. So someone introduced me to the term walking on,
Yeah.
basically just open tryout for a football team. And so my friend Thaddeus, he basically did me a solid because he was choosing between which school he was going to go to. And we were sitting down in a class one day, and I remember he looked me in the eye and he says, "Look, tell me what school you're going to walk on at, and I'm committing to that school." And so I thanked him. And it just so happened that Jones was the school that picked me up, and he said, "All right, let's do this." He signed the letter of intent, and we became roommates later on.
Really?
A few months later that same year.
That's awesome. So
I don't know if I need to keep going or.
no, yeah, no, I want you to keep going, but I do have some questions after all that. So, did you decide on where you wanted to go, or did you have any interest from Jones, or did you just decide to walk on there?
Well, I had a few discussions with my high school offensive line coach.
Okay.
Because it was really between going to a junior college and going to a Division II school in Mississippi that I had been in contact with.
Yeah.
And he, whenever we talked about it, he would get all confused and be like, "Well, Christian, why don't you just go with the junior college? Because it's cheaper, and then potentially you can get something a bit higher." So I
And
started looking into.
eligibility too.
I started looking into, which junior colleges, if any, had open tryouts. So it came down to going to a tryout for Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College, Jones, and I don't remember the other one. I think it might have been like Pearl River or something like that. Just
Gotcha.
some other school to round out the list. And basically, somehow, some way, Pearl River and Gulf Coast both posted the wrong dates for the tryouts on their website.
Oh my gosh.
It happened twice. I showed up to Gulf Coast, their campus, for the tryout, cleats in my hand, workout gear on. You
Yeah.
have to have a physical and like $20 cash to participate in the tryout. And me and 6 other kids were just kind of like sitting around in the bleachers for 2 hours going, like, we're in the right place, right? Like this is where we're supposed to go. And turned out that they posted the wrong date and they already had their tryout like a few days earlier. And then
Wow.
that same thing happened with Pearl River.
Wow.
I was like, what are the odds of this happening?
Yeah. Obviously weren't supposed to go to those two places.
obviously there was a different plan in mind.
Yeah.
And this is just something I thank Thad for anytime we bring it up, because I think the main reason I even got to walk on at Jones, thankfully I went the right date this time. There were actually other people there. And I think the main thing was Thaddeus was very high up on everybody's board.
Yeah.
A lot of schools wanted him, and he was a top priority for most of them, specifically Jones. And I think he tried pulling a favor. I think what happened was he basically contacted their offensive line coach before I went to the walk-on tryouts, and he said, "Hey, if you guys can let my friend try out and walk on, then I would really love to commit there."
Mm-hmm.
So I think I got a little help in that regard.
That's awesome. That sounds like an OG. That sounds like a real friend there.
Oh, dude, him and me, we became brothers.
Yeah.
We became brothers, no doubt.
Where is he at right now? Just by the way.
Um, he's working. I know he's working.
Gotcha.
He got burnt out from football
That's
after our
understandable.
years at Jones. It was a very very up and down roller coaster.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Well, still, thank gosh for him, and it's glad still you got a great friend.
Oh yeah, I tell him all the time, like just out of the blue, I'll just say, thank you for helping me. And he'll always try brushing it off and be like, I knew you were gonna walk on it anyway. Like he'll say, I know you were gonna do it anyway, and you would have made it anyway. And I'm just like, just shut up and
Yeah, just
take the thank you.
Yeah. So now, after your 2 years at Jones, my dad has raved about you when it comes to your tape. I haven't watched it yet. You have to send me the link because my
I
dad has
got
been
you.
telling me about this tape for like years. And anyways, obviously, there were some schools that had some interest in you. I know you had a stint with another school that we've talked
Mm,
about before, but ultimately you ended up now at North Alabama.
mm.
Talk about that. I hate when people say, talk about this like I'm telling you to do something. Could you tell me about, that's a thing that like a lot of reporters do. And
No, I feel you.
I'm just like, bruh, I hate when people word things that way. But would you be, because it's like you're telling them and it's like, bruh, I'm honored to have you here. It's not like, anyways, that's a whole nother can of worms and I could go on my soapbox on that. But anyways, just how did that whole process go with getting to North Alabama and getting on a Division I football team?
Um, it's it's kind of hard to explain, but it's also a very simple thing when you've
Gotcha.
been in the system uh, as long as I have. And I hope this doesn't sound condescending, but it really isn't any more different than what you would think it would be.
Yeah.
The way it kind of starts for anybody is, somehow, some way, a coach will get your phone number, or a big thing now is using Twitter.
Yeah. I
A
see
big
that a
thing now
lot.
is using Twitter and getting DM'd from them and Instagram. Um, I have a funny story about that actually, but basically earlier last year, I believe it was game 2 or 3.
When you're at Jones.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um, our offensive line coach hit up my roommate and I, and he said, "Hey, why don't y'all stop by my office? There's a coach here to see you." And so we walk in there, and it happened to be the offensive line coach for UNA.
Gotcha.
And so he's talking to, and we brought in one other lineman with us. He's talking to us, and he was just kind of meeting and greeting, just getting to know everybody. And then I'll never forget what happened. He looks at me and he says, "Well, Christian, this is going to be really awkward for you and me." And then he turns to my roommate. He goes, "But it's going to be really good news for y'all because I'm offering y'all a scholarship."
But not you
Because
in
he
this.
didn't know. Apparently, the way he tells it is up to that point, he was not aware I was still at Jones.
Really?
He thought that I had left because I did leave for, a
Yeah.
semester. So he wasn't aware of that. And so he was kind of put on the spot and he had to offer 2 kids right in front of me.
Oh my gosh.
And I was just standing there trying to be as supportive as possible. At the same time, I was like, well, this is.
This sucks.
I was like, you're
Yeah.
right. This is awkward because I'm very conflicted right
Yeah.
now.
Oh my gosh.
And then, thankfully, much, much, much later on, probably towards not the last game of the season, but probably the second to last game, they finally pulled the trigger and offered me.
Had you
And
been in
so
contact with them in between that conversation and when you got offered?
it would be brief text
So
messages every now
gotcha.
and then. A big thing that it is, I've talked about this before. They would send like the little photo edits to post on social media, where it would say
Uh-huh.
something like "Good luck from your family here," go kick some tail. They would put your name in the middle of it, and then it would just be like some kind of like little graphic that you would post
Yeah.
on Twitter. It was really stuff like that for a long period of time until closer to the end of the season, because I'm assuming that it was closer to their end of the season as well, so they had more time for recruiting.
Yeah. And so they call you up and offer you, or how does that process even go? See, I'm oblivious. I've never played college football.
I've had some weird ways coaches have offered me. The majority of the time, it's either going to be you get offered over the phone or you get offered on a visit.
Gotcha.
Um, I've had some smaller schools like text me offers, which it doesn't even feel like anything is happening.
Yeah.
That was another thing I never knew in high school, was because when you see someone post about getting an offer, you think, wow, this has got to be crazy. Like, it's got to be fantastic. And then when it finally happens, you're happy that it happens, but at the same time, nothing actually changes, because it's just like we're talking right now. It's
Yeah.
just a conversation. And after you hang up that phone or after you go home from that visit, it's like, well, back to normal, I suppose.
Yeah. So,
Um,
or
what?
here, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, I was just going to say, in regards to your question about how they actually offered me on the phone call.
That's what I was going to ask. Was it on a phone call with UNA?
Mhm.
Gotcha.
They offered me probably, I think, 2 weeks before my first official visit there,
Okay.
and I'll be honest, I couldn't understand half of what the offensive line coach was saying because my phone kept on cutting out,
Oh, darn.
and he was trying to make a joke out of it because he says, "Chap," who is my roommate's name, purple and gold, you. And I said, "What? I'm sorry. What did you say?" And he repeats himself, but it kept on cutting out right on the same exact words. And I asked him to repeat himself like 3 times. And have you ever had that situation where you ask somebody to repeat themselves
Repeatedly.
numerous times, but you still don't get it? So you just kind of like smile and laugh and
Yeah.
pray to the good Lord above to just kind of go ahead in the conversation?
Is
Because
that how
that's
that went?
that's exactly what happened.
Oh
I
my
didn't know what
gosh.
this man was talking about. And so I was like, ah, yeah, coach. And then he goes, "What how do you think you would look in purple and gold?" And I was like, "Oh," I was like, "That's what you said." And then I was trying to think of something clever to say. And so I was like, "I'll be honest, coach, I think I'd look damn good in it." And he said, "Well, how do you think your boy would look in purple and gold?" I said, "I'll be honest with you, coach, I think I would look better." And then he says, "Well, I want to congratulate you because we're going to be offering you a scholarship."
That's awesome, man.
Mhm.
That's oh my gosh. I know this. I know this is crazy. Like it's not that crazy of a story or anything. But for me, just knowing you and knowing everything that you've been through, that even gave me a little bit of chills, man. So that's awesome. So you got school and everything paid for too.
It's thankfully a full ride, yeah.
That's awesome, man. That's a blessing, dude.
I can't lie, after, because I've taken out student loans before, so
Yeah.
after I got my scholarship paper printed out and I saw the exact amount it was worth, I was like, "Whoo!"
You
I was like, "That's good."
no more no more student loans for Christian for the
Oh
next
no,
2 years.
sir, no, sir.
That's awesome, man. I'm so happy for you. So I know that I tried to do a little bit of research on this. Obviously, it's FCS, but still a Division I football school. Um, are are y'all in the Big South for football? Is that y'all's conference?
The Big South football. I'll be honest, it was a little confusing whenever I was
Okay, cool. I'm
being
not the only
introduced
one.
to it as well. The way it was explained to me was, um, the university is in the ASUN ASUN Athletic Conference for every sport except for football.
Yeah.
Football is
Yeah.
specific to the Big South Conference.
Gotcha. Gotcha. That makes sense. There's a couple of for I don't know when it was, but there were a couple of Sunbelt teams that I think was only in Sunbelt for football a couple years ago. There was
Mm.
something like that. So I know that can be common. And I'm actually a little bit, believe it or not, I'm actually a little bit familiar with the ASUN. I think that
Really?
at some point during this season, Texas State volleyball, I was telling you about that. We called one of their games and they were playing. I don't remember what team it was, but they were playing a team that was from that conference because we had to go.
Okay.
We had to talk about the players that they needed to look out for in a specific.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And one of the teams they were playing was from the ASUN, and they had like a couple volleyball players that were like top of the conference. So I remember going on their website one time. So that's kind of a funny
Okay.
connection there. But
Small
anyways,
world.
getting into everything else kind of going on right now, just you being a transfer. So how much time have you, with all the COVID stuff going on right now, how
Mm.
much time have you spent like on campus at UNA? Did you get to?
Oh yeah.
Okay, that's good.
Um, for most transfer sports, and I can only talk about football because that's the only one I have
Yeah.
personal knowledge of. You obviously transfer in probably the first week of January.
Okay.
Uh, and you know how it is in most universities, you're going to have to live on campus for at least the first semester, if
Yeah.
not the first year you're there. So I transferred in, I think moving day was January 8th. And then classes started on the 10th, if I remember correctly. So I was there for probably close to 2.5 months before COVID-19 really hit our area and they had to close down school.
Gotcha. Had y'all started spring practice yet?
We actually started it and finished it in the month of January, or excuse me, the month of February. January would have been
So y'all
crazy.
already went through your spring.
Yeah, to my knowledge, we are one of the few, if not possibly the only school that got the entirety of our spring training out of the way
Well,
before team activities were disbanded from the by the NCAA.
that's a freaking blessing for you because especially as a transfer, like I told you this before the calls, there's a lot of guys at Texas State. They had a big transfer class this year,
Mm,
and a lot of those guys got a week into practice. You were saying you had a friend at Troy,
yeah,
same thing, and everything's canceled. And as a transfer, that really sucks because like they know what you're made of from your tape, but
yeah.
they haven't really got to see you up person. So I feel like, I mean, I'm hearing that, I'm really happy for you because I know that probably being able to go through that whole spring football process uninterrupted with all of this craziness that's totally unprecedented. That I mean, that's huge for you, and just being able to get comfortable and get to know the coaches and they can see what you're made of.
Mm.
What position are you planning on, or do they have you slated as? I know you're O line, obviously, but like guard or
Uh,
tackle,
Interior.
interior. Cool.
So I've been primarily at right guard, but I've played left guard for probably the back half of spring training, and I'm just really praying that I just suck at snapping, and they don't even try me at center. I'm really hoping.
Oh my gosh.
You got to be a dog to play center, man. I don't know if I have that in me.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned that though, because one of the guys, actually, Texas State's center, who
Mm,
he also played like every position on the offensive line this year. His name was Aaron Brewer, and he actually signed an undrafted free agent deal with the Titans.
okay.
Um, so that was huge. Yeah, they had a couple players. It was surprising. And then they had this one guy, Frankie Griffin, who played linebacker every year
Mm.
at Texas State. Ended up signing with the Packers as a safety.
Oh,
So
he must be one. Is he a
he's fast. So
lighter guy?
he's not even that light is the thing. Like he's pretty jacked, but I think he's just fast. I
Yeah.
think they see him as like a Cam Chancellor type of dude. You know what I'm saying?
That's scary if they're
Yeah.
thinking
Yeah.
that.
I mean, I don't not that good, but you know what I'm saying? Like
Like that
like
kind of comparison.
like
I
that
feel you.
type of player, you know what I mean? Like a
Hmm.
bigger, strong safety, but that is honestly probably the size of a linebacker, but has the speed to
I feel
play
you.
that would be better at safety. And then Brian London, who you may not know who this is, but David Mayo, who is a linebacker for the Giants right now, he went to Texas State, and he was the all-time tackles leader, got drafted in like the 5th, 6th round. Brian London broke his tackle record, and he signed a free agent deal with the Rams. So
Okay.
there were a couple guys, and yeah, I was surprised. I thought Brian London might actually get drafted, but hey, but honestly, like I could see Aaron Brewer and Brian. I was like, I could see them getting deals, but I didn't think Frankie was going to get one. I mean, obviously, like I think he's a good player, but I wasn't expecting that. So to see 3 guys from Texas State go pro this year to the NFL, that was definitely pretty crazy to see. And like they're on guaranteed contracts too. So like they're going to play that, they're going to be on the team this year most likely. So
Well, good for them. Good for the school. That's great exposure.
yeah, for sure. I mean, it kind of came out of nowhere with a lot of those. A lot of us expected Brian to get drafted. He was actually the last guy to get signed, which was really surprising considering he's the all-time tackles leader. But yeah, I mean, it was definitely a crazy experience with everything going on. But I'm glad to hear that you got to go through your spring training. Like you were saying, not a lot of schools got to do that. So that's great that you got acclimated. But now I just remember what I was saying in the first place. Aaron Brewer, he played basically every position on the line, but primarily interior. And like Cesar Ruiz, the guy that the Saints drafted, he, was a center at Michigan, but they might play him at like left guard or something. So hopefully for your sake, like you were saying, you don't have to play center, but we'd love to see your right guard or left guard.
Versatility is the name of the game, and unfortunately, I got to figure it out.
Hey, but you got to be blessed for the opportunity for sure.
Oh yeah.
So how have your like online classes been going? Have they just what has been your format?
I think pretty much every current college student in America, it was definitely a weird adjustment at first.
Yeah, I
Just
feel you.
because I know specifically myself, it's admittedly difficult to motivate yourself to stay on top of
Yeah.
everything when you aren't having to wake up for an 8 o'clock class. You
Yeah.
aren't having to go into and sit down in an actual chair, take notes, listen to an
Yeah.
actual lecture. When it's posted online, it can feel very, how do I put it, just not as important if
Yeah.
it were in person, just because your thought process is, oh, well, this is already at my fingertips. I can just deal with this whenever.
Exactly. Yeah, that's how I felt a lot of this time. It's like, oh, I can just do it whenever I want. So, yeah.
That's what makes it so much of an issue. But after you get over the initial shock of having it all be online for the first time ever, it's pretty easy because again, it is all at your fingertips, so you can get through
Yeah.
a good chunk of it, just in one sitting. That way, it doesn't kind of back up on you.
Yeah, for sure. I actually had one class that was already online, so that was kind of helpful because that class just didn't change at all. So that was nice in that stance. But in regards going back to football, how has your team been communicating through all of this? What have y'all been doing?
What are we using right now?
Oh, are y'all on Zoom?
Everyone's on Zoom.
Yep.
Everybody.
That's funny. Have y'all so what have y'all been, if you can disclose it? I don't know what is disclosable and non-disclosable, but have y'all been have y'all still been doing film sessions on Zoom? Like what mainly has been y'all's kind of plan, I guess you could say, for when you get on those Zoom calls?
Well, we've only had a few, and to be honest, the main point of discussion has been how are we going to handle the season during
Yeah.
COVID-19, protocols for it, safety measures, and all of that. We've had one or two film talks going over the plays.
Yeah.
Really, the only thing it kind of boils down to is just we'll get like a pop quiz
Gotcha.
where our offensive line coach will go, "Oh, Christian, what is da 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 da? What is your assignment? How do you go about it?"
Gotcha.
We've done that a few times, but nothing crazy. And I think the main reason for that is because we're all still waiting to really hear the big news one way or another about how the season is going to happen, if it
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah. And now, I'm asking you this and I'm remembering that because I'm asking you kind of this in the light of like, I think most colleges didn't go through spring ball, but you
Mhm.
guys did that. So I'm sure that kind of makes it once again easier for y'all during this process because you have already got that time playing together and kind of getting the groove together and having those spring practices. And of course, I've got my LSU national championship hat on. That just reminds me of one time where Joe Burrow said kind of the difference for this year, for them was that he got to spend the offseason and spring ball specifically with his receivers, where last year he came in straight in the fall. So he didn't have the
Uh,
offseason to work with his guys. So once again, man, I'm really happy to hear that y'all got through spring ball and that y'all were able to kind of once again bond as a team, get to know each other, and get that work in that a lot of other teams didn't get to get. I
it's
said get
it's
3 times in that sentence.
it's definitely a blessing. I'll keep it at that. Like I've said multiple times, my friend at Troy, we were discussing it as it was going on this earlier on in the semester, and they got exactly 1 week into spring
Yep.
training. I think he said they probably had about 1/5 of the playbook installed, and then we all have to go home. No more team practices. No more group weight room sessions. Um, kind of like sucks to suck, but it happened, and now we have to deal with it. So it is definitely a blessing that I got to go through the entirety of it and learn the vast majority of the playbook.
Yeah, and for a transfer, I mean, for you, once again, I mean, I'm sure, like you said, we're talking about it, and you're probably just like, I'm looking at this and I'm like, this is the best case situation for you in this situation because, like I said, a lot of transfers that come in a new place didn't get that chance. Obviously, they're probably going through it on Zoom calls, but that's just not the same. So the fact that you got to do it is just awesome. Um, moving on to the next question, I was hoping it would come to me by the time that I said moving on to the next question, but it just didn't. But no, I think whenever it comes to like all of these different or all of this stuff going on, just what is it like the process been like for you? Just this is what I was going to ask.
Mm.
How is your workouts been going? And are those necessarily like regulated? I know your dad said you were doing push-ups. Do you get advised by your coaches? How does that process go?
So there's an app, and I forget what the name of it is exactly, but basically our strength and conditioning coach can post a list of workouts for that specific day, and it's all body weight type stuff.
Gotcha. So it's accessible, so you can actually do it
Yeah,
regardless.
'cause it's obviously no gyms open, and very very few people have access at home to a barbell or
Yeah,
dumbbells. So that helps out a ton. But even then, there's there's never going to be any way you can translate the intensity of an actual team workout to at home. I mean, you do
yeah,
what you can because you have to do what you can, but there is no possible way you can ever try to duplicate um, the results of a fully organized workout.
yeah. Well, the good news is everybody's in the same boat. So it's probably not
Yeah,
going to affect the season because everybody's with you on that one. So at least there's a
yeah.
level playing field with everybody having to work out at home.
I'll tell you, when they were discussing playing the season, basically right now during the summer, I was terrified because I was like, I'm going to be going into this out of shape. And you're talking about playing football in Alabama, 90 degrees plus
Yeah.
the 90 to 110% humidity. No. No.
You're like, I need some time.
Dude, put on them metal Don Joy braces. No, I ain't cooking my legs. Uh-uh.
Oh my gosh. Oh geez. Well, I think we've gone for a good while here. I'm trying to think if I have any more questions for you. I know it's just been, I mean, that's a great story for you. And once again, I've said this about 3 times on the podcast already, but I mean, that's just great that you got to actually go through spring training. So just how about this? I got a good one. What are just your thoughts of your UNA team and your favorite part about kind of being at like now a Division I school, and maybe this is kind of like a 4-part question, but what's probably maybe the biggest difference, not like in a negative light, that you've seen from a JUCO to a Division I football team?
That takes a little bit of breaking down.
Yeah.
As far as what I think of the team, every single person since I've been there, very nice, always helpful. And it's kind of cliche to say that because I feel like everybody does say that, but I'm a quiet guy by nature,
Mm-hmm.
and specifically going somewhere 6 hours away from where I grew up, not knowing anybody, it
Yeah.
was a very, very terrifying idea. And just ever since I've been there, every person is just nice as could be, always trying to help as much as they can. Um, I have no complaints there. Everyone is just an incredible person. As far as I'll put it like this, they were my first Division I scholarship offer. And coming from experience, having the walk on, basically up to this point, every coach I've ever had has put it bluntly and saying, you're not good enough to do what you want to do.
Yeah.
And that sucks, but you've got to deal with it. My stubborn ass has always said, well, no, I'm going to do this anyway. And it's been a very slow, very, very grueling uphill battle.
Yeah.
And then to finally have a school, to finally have a coach say, hey, we really strongly believe in your abilities. We want you to come here. That spoke more than any kind of trip, any kind of special promises you could ever make. Just because when someone says that they believe in you, it you're gonna go to war for them.
Yeah.
You're gonna give them every single ounce of yourself that you possibly can.
Yeah.
Uh, Now talking about the differences between JUCO and a 4-year university. I mean, obviously there's differences. There's a bit more
Yeah.
money at a 4-year school um, for travel and stuff like that. They talk about they take flights.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, we didn't do that. We would take charter buses to our
Gotcha.
away games that were always real small and cramped, especially for the linemen, especially for the
Oh
big
boy, I can
boys.
only imagine that.
Oh, dude, my knees, they would be screaming some nights,
Yikes.
especially when you have like a 4.5 hour to 5 hour trip
Mm-hmm.
and you do that twice in one day because you drive up 5 hours, play a team, and then drive 5 hours back. You get back to the
Yeah.
JUCO at like 2 o'clock in the morning. Um, Outside of that, I mean, at least the JUCO I went to, it's pretty well structured. I've heard some horror stories
Yeah.
from other people, but ours was pretty well run. So we had an equipment manager. We had a few actually. We had some great trainers. Um, but again, there's always a little more money at a
Yeah.
4-year institution. So they had a little bit of an easier time diagnosing and assessing issues if somebody had something.
Yeah.
But I'm not trying to be negative about it at
Yeah, of
all.
course. Of course not. I
I'll never
wasn't trying to
forget
imply that.
the very first summer I went to JUCO. It blew my mind, dude. Because what did y'all ever get like workout gear in high school?
A little bit. Not really too much though.
See, ours was in high school. They had these old like they would give everyone a compression shirt and like athletic Nike shorts
Yeah.
that 70,000 people before you had used.
Yeah, yeah, that we had that. That's what I had when I was at Hayes.
That's how it was. And then you get to JUCO and they had it all laid out in the locker room. You walk in there, and one of the very first meetings you have after the meeting, you go into the locker room to try on your stuff, and they had your workout shirt and your workout shorts nice and laid out. And the coolest thing, dude, was you flip it on the back, and your football number was on the back of them.
Yeah.
They had your workout shoes, you had your practice cleats, and then game cleats. And I've never had more than one pair of cleats at a time.
Yeah.
So it blew my mind the fact that they gave you not only shoes, but 2 pairs of cleats.
Yeah.
And then the cherry on top, dude, was you get a backpack, again, with your number on it.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was, dude. And so, any kind of level above high school, it blew my mind, man, because I was like, how much money must this cost?
Yeah.
Um,
How's that been at UNA? Have you gotten even more stuff?
with mid-year guys, it's always kind of difficult because
Okay, I
we kind of
gotcha.
order stuff in shipments of
In the
in
fall.
the fall because that's when most of your guys are coming in if you're bringing in someone from a high school. No, they gave us, what did I get? I believe it was a beanie, a hoodie, some sweatpants, my cleats, and I believe that was it for this spring so far.
But you'll probably get some more in the fall if everything
Oh yeah,
goes well.
that's when you get the majority of your stuff.
Hey, but you still got some nice winter clothes, I'm sure. I'm sure it's
Oh,
nice quality. What's the sponsor for UNA?
Adidas,
Adidas,
which is
nice.
awesome because I love Adidas, man. That's probably
That's what
my
Texas
favorite.
State has too. They
Hmm.
have Adidas stuff. Have you got to see the jerseys yet or any of the I know obviously you've got to put on their helmets, which I'm sure are pretty cool.
Oh
But
yeah, for the spring game, we actually got to use our regular
game jerseys?
game day jerseys.
Dude, did that feel awesome?
Let me tell you, I didn't know how tight them suckers were.
Oh yeah, the Adidas ones.
I did, boy. I don't think I could barely put it on without the blood circulation cutting off.
Oh my gosh.
I was a little pissed because they split it up to the home jerseys and the away jerseys, and of course, I got put on the away team,
Mhm.
so it was white jersey with some purple pants, which looks clean, but everyone wants to be the home team. You want to
The
put on
the all purple.
the home uniform.
Yeah, yeah.
We had to win just to make it feel a little less sour.
Y'all did win? So
Yeah,
that's awesome. That's awesome, man. I'm gonna have to go see if there's some highlights of that. I'll have to watch it for sure. How much playing time did you get in that spring game?
I was. It was a running clock, but basically the
Yeah, I
way they
gotcha.
split it up, there was only like 2 full lines for both of the teams, so I was playing the majority of the snaps. I don't know
That's awesome.
the exact snap number, but um, I don't think I came out if I remember correctly.
That's great, dude. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to go watch that tape. So I have one more question for. Do you have a Twitter?
Yeah,
Because to be honest, I'm fairly active on Twitter. So I'm definitely gonna have to follow you. What's your Twitter so we can give you a shout out on the show?
I'm gonna be real, dude. Like the only reason I really used Twitter for a long time was
Was
just
recruiting.
for recruiting,
Yeah.
but it's Christian UNA 56.
Nice. Okay. Cool. Well, everybody who's listening, go give Christian a follow. And I will do that too. Even if you don't use it too much, I don't care. Still got to give the shout out.
I
Um,
got you.
and I guess with that being said, I think we'll wrap this thing up. Dude, I truly appreciate you coming on. It's been great talking to you. I know we'll probably talk a little bit after I stop hitting record, but
Absolutely, man.
I truly appreciate you coming on. And you are the first official college football player that has been on the JTM. So
Making history, right?
yes, you are. So I truly appreciate you coming on, brother. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you've listened this far, we truly appreciate you. Go check out Christian, follow the Lions. I'll probably try to tag them. Maybe they'll see this. I'm not expecting anything, but I'll tag the Lions over there, North Alabama, and I'll have to tune into some games next year. It's definitely my new favorite FCS team, and
Hey,
I love college football at all levels, and I love watching the FCS playoffs and stuff when all that goes on. So, I hope to see y'all in there. And thank you so much for coming on, Christian.
thank you very much for having me, bro.
Alrighty. Well, we'll catch you guys next time.